Good to see you guys there. Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is Guy in His Garage. My name's Cam. So as you guys can see, if you watched 2 weeks ago's episode, we had an issue with one of our wheel hubs. All of our studs in our hub were just spinning, so we had to get creative in the shop, weld those studs back to the hub plate, fight to get all the lug nuts off. I went ahead and just got it back together. On today's episode, we're going to do the driver's side, and I'm hoping that there isn't any issues with our studs on that side, and I can give you guys the step-by-step proper way on how to take the tire, take the brake assembly apart, take the hub out, throw the new hub in, put it all back together. So let's just hope everything goes normal. So first things first, we got to get the truck jacked up, and then we got to get our tire off. Let's get into it. Okay, something I like to do before I get the truck up in the air is one, make sure I have the right size socket on here. All right, I prefer to use a deep well, but again, we can only get to so much of these lug nuts to begin with, so this short well will have to do. We're also not using an impact, so I'm not worried about using a chrome socket to do this. Now so far, guys, going through these lugs, one are a little looser than I like, but this is also a pretty serious ratchet. So okay, I think we got one. Nope, that one's very good. That one's good. Again, guys, you don't want to back them off too far, but that should be far enough to now where when we jack the truck up, should be able to get all these to come off real easy, and then we can tear this side apart, get it back together. Let's get into it. Alright guys, I got you set up to where you should be able to see everything I got to do. We got to remove our caliper, our two brake pads, our brake cradle. Once that's removed, we can remove our rotor. Once our rotor is removed, what we'll do is we'll take our ABS sensor retaining bolts out, the one little plastic push tab. We'll actually disconnect it. Then we'll pull our hub assembly. This is our portion of it that locks in our four-wheel drive. We'll remove that and the snap ring. Then we can remove the four retaining nuts that holds our wheel hub assembly to our axle assembly and our knuckle. So let's get to it. So first, if I'm not mistaken, these should be 11/16 bolts. They are. So what I do is I just get the top and bottom loose, and then usually these are loose enough that you can get them to come out by hand pretty easily. Luckily, these actually look pretty clean. So normally, guys, on some of the older stuff, what I like to do is I will take a wire wheel on a drill, and I'll just go over the threads and the top of the bolt, clean them up. Just adds some extra life to them, keeps us from messing up our threads. But I don't know if you guys can see, but these threads look really clean. The top of these bolts look really good, so I'm not going to waste our time cleaning those up. So in theory, now our caliper should come off. Sometimes they need a little persuasion. Just want to work it back and forth. If you're from the southern states and you don't have rust because you don't live in the Rust Belt, you can just leave your comments to yourself, all right? I live in the Northeast. This is a Northeast truck. Rust a thing. So now it should come off a lot easier. Just going to take a quick check at the inside of our caliper. Specifically what we're looking for is any tears in the boots or any damage to the cup surfaces. Both of these look pretty good for the fact that this isn't a brand new caliper. It's not that old, but it's not new either. So what I do is I'll typically take my caliper, hook it up onto our spring up here, but I'll run a zip tie through it. All we're trying to do here, guys, is keep this caliper from doing exactly that, falling down and hitting us in the head. I'll show you guys. Should look a little something like that. That way there, you can see our zip tie up here. This just keeps it hung up, keeps the tension off of our hose, and then keeps it from hitting us in the head. Get you guys back over here. Nah, that's even better. Yeah, that's nice. All right, so now what we'll do is remove our two. Actually, before we do that, we're just gonna pop our brake pads out of here. Even though these pads have plenty of life left on them, because I had to replace the passenger side, I'm just putting new front pads and rotors on this whole thing. So now what we'll do, like I said, we'll take our two bolts out of here. And if I'm not mistaken, these are 13/16. Yep. Grab our 1/2-inch ratchet. Same thing, break both of them loose. If you break one loose and take it all the way out, then you have nothing keeping pressure on the other one, and the bracket is just gonna flip-flop and turns into a pain. So these two bolts, will definitely take the wire wheel to them and just clean them up, just because they're a little bit older. They don't look too bad, but like I said, quick wire wheel, they'll be great. Now our rotor should come right off. Chuck that over there because we're not going to need it. And now what we'll do, so while we have quick, easy access to it, we will disconnect our ABS sensor. But we'll do that up on the workbench instead of trying to do it out here on the truck. So now what I'll do is I'll bring you guys around this side. We'll pop our hub 4x4 assembly out of the truck, and then we'll remove our 4 bolts, and then we should be able to start working on getting the hub off. Okay guys, so now I got you over here. These are torque style bolts. Again, these shouldn't be crazy tight. These are only supposed to be hand tight in here. So they should break free pretty easy. Just do a quick check, make sure we don't see anything that's concerning. Also, everything looks pretty good in there. Set that over here. And of course, guys, it's starting to rain again. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Down in there, there's what's called a snap ring. We got to remove that snap ring. What the snap ring does is the snap ring keeps forward pressure on our actual axle that's in here, because if that snap ring was there, our axle would kind of slide in and out and it wouldn't make good contact with our 4x4 hub assembly. As you can see, there's splines in here, there's splines out here. Right now it spins free, right? If you stick your fingers in here, you can get the inner piece to spin. When you engage this, which right now it's going to be kind of tough, in the 4-wheel drive, what that does is it locks the assembly up, and now the whole thing wants to spin. What that is doing is that's forcing these splines to line up with our inner splines, and that causes your power to now actually make your front wheels spin. This is what actually makes you have 4-wheel drive. So I'll get the snap ring out of here, which, if you've never dealt with a snap ring, they can be an absolute pain in the katokus. One side of your prong's lined up, you lose the other side, or it slips out, or whatever. So set that over here. So in theory, all that should be left is the 4 nuts that actually hold our studs that are attached to the hub into the axle assembly. So let's go ahead and get those undone. All right, so like I said, all we got left should be 4 nuts on the back side here. It's hard for you guys to see them, but there's 1, 2. All right, so like I said, all we got left should be 4 nuts on the back side here. It's hard for 3 and 4, and these should also be 13/16. Okay, so those are all broke free. So now we should be able to use our socket in our hands. And normally what I'll do is I'll back the nut right up to the top of the stud. Because what we may have to do is we may have to give this some love taps. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to damage the nut. And if you back the nut out too far, you might mushroom the head of it. I'm not worried about the studs on the back of our hub because our new hub assembly comes with new studs. This upper one over here didn't want to spin by hand very much. So we use the ratchet a little more. Pull the ratchet back off. Get back up here. Yeah. Okay, in typical wheel hub fashion for a truck from the Northeast, it's a little seized. So what we'll do now is we'll get a fine chisel or a pry bar and a hammer, and we're just going to slowly hammer our way around the hub and our knuckle to get that separation. All right. So like I said, we'll just take our chisel, okay, so our hub's generally free, so now what we'll do is we'll finish removing our 4 nuts, and then we should be able to just pull it right off. Try not to drop the socket on your face. All right, so with our 4 nuts off, in theory, well, that's interesting. So guys, this is actually part of our hub. So that tells me it's actually probably a good thing we're replacing this. That'll go back on. So this ring should actually be pressed down into here, but clearly it's come out, and what that has done is it's allowed dirt and debris to start getting down into our hub here. Even though it spins just fine, I don't feel any grinding or binding. There's no real play in our hub. Because I put a new one on the other side, I decided to just put 2 new hubs, especially with the hub that I got. I wanted them to match each other. Plus, With this being messed up, it's just a matter of time before this hub goes bad, or even worse. It's probably hard for you guys to be able to tell what it is, but this is actually a seal. This keeps dirt and debris from getting in from the back side, because on the back it's just open. So this keeps dirt and debris from getting up into our hub down here. With this just free floating in here, you can see it's just rubbing up against our seal, and eventually that would eat our seal up and damage it. Honestly, it looks pretty good. I'm not super worried about it. I don't see any like signs of excessive heat or damage to this rubber piece, so we're just going to leave that alone. So now that we got this off, what I like to do is take a wire wheel and just clean this surface up. I'll also clean up our two mounting surfaces for our caliper bracket. Okay, those cleaned up, we'll go in the shop. This hub is from a company called Kryptonite. They're not sponsored. I paid for these hubs. But Kryptonite is a company that makes parts pretty much for trucks, Jeeps, 4x4s. They do some two-wheel drive stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But if you're in the off-roading style world, Kryptonite is a solid brand. They over-engineer all of their products. I actually have their ball joints in the front end of that truck. That's why we had the part last year, was the truck needed new ball joints. I like their products. I have no issues with them. I don't mind spending the extra money. They have a fantastic warranty program. No, didn't see you guys there. All right, so we're actually, it's been like an hour and a half. What we'll do, so we'll go get this put back on the truck. Okay, guys, we got one more thing we got to do to our hub before we can put it on here. You might notice there's 4 holes here. These holes are for the studs that actually hold it onto the axle hub. So here's our new studs. Should just easily screw right in. Doesn't screw in real easy, probably means the threads aren't lined up. So just don't force them. Okay, don't forget your ABS sensor goes up top. For your backer plate, alright, before I forget about it, just put these back in real quick. Alright, make sure we plug this back in, wherever the heck it is. Make sure it clicks. Okay. Now we'll get our 4 nuts back on our studs that retain the hub. So all you want to do, guys, is just want to get these snug. As you can tell, there's still a gap between our hub and our knuckle here, and that's all right, because once we get all 4 of these nuts to where they're touching the inside of our knuckle, we'll work in an X pattern and slowly pull our hub down into the knuckle. All right, grab our ratchet, put our socket on it. Like I said, We'll work in a slow X pattern, making sure that we try to bring it all in at the same time. Now on these bolts, or these nuts, you want to make sure you get them good and tight. You got to remember, other than your caliper bracket, this is what's holding your wheel to your truck. You don't want these bolts coming undone going down the highway. So I usually just go back around them, make sure they're all good and tight. And just like that, guys, we're done. No, I'm just kidding. So now that our hub's back in place, we can do take our new snap ring, there it is, there's that nice pop. Okay, so now that that's back in, go ahead and get both our axle and our hub gears to line up. Sometimes you just have to play with it, get it to go in. And then we can go ahead, put these screws back in, and then just snug them a little bit. Again, don't want to go crazy on these. Just enough to make sure they're not going to come out while you're going down the road. Okay, so that's our hub assembly. Next thing we need is our rotor and our caliper bracket, which is back here. And before we do our rotor, I'm going to take a second. We're going to clean up some of the surfaces on our bracket. All right. That's good enough for me. So inside your caliper bracket are these pins. This is for your caliper to slide on. That's what your caliper actually bolts into. What I'll typically do is I'll check and make sure that they still have grease. This side isn't too bad. The other side, one of these was almost completely seized. I had to pull it out, wire wheel the pin, then use a wire brush for doing tubes, put it down in here and clean it out, and then I re-greased them. Both of these are both doing exactly what they should, moving in and out nice and good. They still have a decent amount of grease on them, so I'm not going to worry about these. If you don't have grease, you can use anti-seize, that'll work too. The only thing I will do, clean these off a little bit. Just be careful when you're using the wire wheel on this of your rubber bushing right here. You don't want to tear that and get dirt and grime and everything else in there. So let's grab our new rotor. So that's our rotor. And I did say I was going to wire wheel these, so we'll do that real quick. That looks better. All right. Put our caliper bracket bolts back in. All right. Now what we got to do is then we got to put our new pads in. So if you guys are wondering, these are Power Stop Extremes. I've been running Power Stops on this truck. Actually, I think since I got the truck back in 2018. I think they last a very long time. I've never had any issues with their pads and their rotors. It's a solid product. Put our little springs. And yes, these are springs, guys. If you didn't know, their purpose is to pull your pad away from the rotor, so when you're not stepping on the brake, the pad isn't just gliding over the rotor. It's not making contact. That's what these little springs are for. So as you can see, I put a little anti-seize where these little springs go. I also typically just put a little bit on the bottom of the springs. It just helps keep them from squeaking and squealing, and actually allowing them to move. Helps prevent them from getting seized up in there. Hence the name anti-seize. So you guys can kind of see those little springs pull the pads away from the rotor. So now what we got to do is got to get our caliper back down. Cut the zip tie. We'll set our caliper right about here. Now you don't have to have one of these fancy tools like I do, but this tool is designed to push your pistons inside your caliper back in so that you can fit it over your new pads. You can do this with a big set of channel locks, but I like this because it typically provides a more equal amount of pressure on each piston, which helps prevent one piston coming out while you're pushing one in, and you don't have to fight it. On these bigger trucks though, they're not big enough to fit in here. I'm sure they make bigger ones for trucks and such, but I just throw a small block of wood in there and it does the job just fine. So with our pistons pushed all the way back in, loosen our tool up, grab our caliper, slide it over our pads, grab one of our 2 bolts, if we can get it to line up. And then we'll grab our 11/16. Get these tightened back up. Check this one more time. Cool. Okay guys, all that's left to do is put our wheel and our lug nuts back on, set it down, and then we'll take it for a road test. Make sure there's no more shimmy and shake going on, you know what I mean? Alright guys, now we got all the lug nuts on. What I'll do is I'll pull this carpet out of here, we'll jack the truck up, get our jack stand out, set the truck on the ground, and then go back through the lug nuts one more time. But you guys see how we got a couple more turns out of some of these lug nuts? That's why it's important once the weight is back on the tire to actually go back and retighten your lug nuts. So now what's left to do is we'll move the Focus. We'll go take this for a test drive. Well, you know what they say, guys. It's a beautiful day at the Circle K. And if you don't get that reference, go get cultured, all right? That is like the most true American song there is. Look it up. But anyways, guys, we're gonna call this job done. There's no new noises. Just ride nice and smooth. We don't have any shimmy, we don't have any shake, we don't have any weird grinding noises. Swapping out our two hubs has fixed our issue. So for now, this job's done. Hopefully that new wheel comes in, because I already can't stand looking at that one freaking chrome wheel when we have all black wheels. But hey, this is guy in his garage, or in this case, guy at the Circle K. My name's Cam. Catch you guys on the next one. Later.